All stories from the unknown hour are audio-based and can be listened to without viewing the images. For the best experience, headphones are recommended.
Parker's life in the metropolis was simple yet satisfying. He lived alone in a small rental house, his routine dominated by remote work as a programmer. While his circle of friends was small, the bond with them was genuine. Most evenings, after finishing up his coding, he'd meet up with his best friend, Kai. They frequented the same local bar, enjoying a few drinks, chatting aimlessly about everything and nothing before heading home. It was a quiet, almost ritualistic routine. Kai's older brother, Ryder, was a different sort of person. While Parker and Kai had a close friendship, Ryder was more of a recluse. He had always preferred solitude, spending most of his time working on his passion, filmmaking. Ryder wasn't a mainstream filmmaker. He produced his own short movies, which were often more surreal and thought-provoking than what you'd see in theaters. Despite his introverted nature, Parker and Kai often found themselves visiting Ryder to watch his latest creation. But it was more than just the movies. Ryder had always lived his life differently, and there was a peculiar air to his apartment, an aura that seemed to amplify the strange happenings that surrounded him. His life, after all, was full of surprises, and they were often nothing short of bizarre. One Friday, after finishing a long day of work, Parker called Kai. They hadn't visited Ryder in 2 months, and the anticipation was thick. Kai had mentioned that Ryder had been working on something strange, referring to it as a real-life project. He hadn't provided many details, but the secrecy only piqued their curiosity. "We're going tonight?" Parker asked, a hint of excitement in his voice. Kai, equally intrigued, replied, "Yeah, he's been acting weird. We've got to see what's going on." They met outside Ryder's apartment building, a large, decaying complex nestled in the heart of the city. It was one of those places that looked as though it had once been grand, but had since fallen into disrepair. They hurried to the elevator, the creaky old machine groaning as it ascended. The lower floors were always noisy, but as the elevator climbed, the silence grew, a stark contrast to the chaos below. When they reached the 17th floor, the hallway lights flickered weakly, casting a dim glow over the cracked walls. They approached Ryder's door and rang the bell. It was silent for a moment, but then the door swung open. Ryder, with his usual serious expression, greeted them. "Get in now," he said, his tone urgent. "They'll be here soon." Kai and Parker exchanged amused glances, but the seriousness in Ryder's eyes made them hesitate. They stepped inside. Ryder wasted no time and rushed to the kitchen, where his laptop sat on the table. "Sit down," he instructed. Parker and Kai followed him, still amused but now deeply curious. "What's going on, Ryder?" Kai asked. Ryder looked at them with a strange smile. "I've been busy with some surreal activities," he said, his voice low, almost conspiratorial. Parker raised an eyebrow. "Surreal?" "Ever since I found this idol in the forest," Ryder continued, his tone growing more serious. "Strange things have been happening. I hung it up here, in the kitchen, and that's when the visitors started arriving." Kai, puzzled, leaned forward. "Visitors? What kind of visitors?" "Old women," Ryder replied, his voice almost a whisper. "A group of grannies. They come at night, and if I don't feed them bread, they get aggressive." Parker burst into laughter. "What, are they on drugs or something?" Ryder's eyes darkened. "No, this is something else. This has to do with the idol, I'm sure of it. Since I found it, this started happening." Kai snorted. "This sounds like a cliché horror movie. Idols summoning strange visitors. What's next? Ryder shot him a serious look. You're not getting it. The idol, it summons old women who want bread. Moment of stunned silence before Parker couldn't help himself and laughed. Are you telling us you've got a cursed idol in your kitchen that summons grannies who eat bread? Ryder nodded, his face deadpan. Yes, and they're coming tonight, in about 2 hours. Parker and Kai exchanged nervous glances, half excited, half terrified. Do we have bread? Kai asked. Ryder smiled and pointed to the kitchen cupboard. Open it. Kai did, revealing a stockpile of bread loaves stacked neatly inside. He laughed out loud, shaking his head in disbelief. This is really weird. Ryder, still calm, replied, Wait until you see what's weird when they arrive. They moved to the living room and sank into the sofa, passing the time by talking about movies. But Parker couldn't shake the odd feeling creeping over him. As they sat, he noticed movement under the sofa. A large spider was crawling out from beneath it, its legs moving with eerie precision. Oh, that's just Ryder's pet spider, Kai explained. He feeds it, and it just hangs out. Parker shook his head, chuckling. Of course he has a pet spider. Time dragged on, and after about an hour, Kai stood up. Where's the idol? Can we see it? Ryder gestured to the kitchen wall. Top left corner. Kai looked up and saw it. The idol. It was a strange wooden face with an enormous, comical nose. It looked ancient, its dark wood covered in what seemed like centuries of dust. It's ridiculous, Kai laughed, but also kind of creepy. By now it was 2 a.m. They had lost track of time, engrossed in conversation, but the eerie noises outside broke their focus. Moaning voices, faint at first, grew louder by the second. Kai and Parker shot to their feet, rushing to the kitchen. Is it happening? Kai asked. Ryder, sitting calmly, nodded. Yes, get the bread and open the door. They hurried to the main door, each grabbing a loaf of bread. Kai peeked through the peephole. A group of about 10 grannies stood outside, all wearing olive green coats, thick glasses, and eerily similar hairstyles. They shuffled in place, waiting. Are you sure I should open it? Kai asked. Yes, Ryder said, and then come back to the kitchen. Kai hesitated for a moment, then opened the door. The grannies didn't hesitate. They shuffled in, their movements slow but determined. Throw the bread on the floor, Ryder instructed. Parker and Kai looked at each other, confused but obedient. They began tossing the bread onto the floor. The moment the loaves hit the ground, the grannies moved, not walking anymore but scrambling on all fours, their faces contorting into something animalistic as they devoured the bread in seconds. The noises they made were disturbing, pig-like snorting and chomping sounds. Parker and Kai exchanged uncomfortable glances, but Ryder sat back in his chair, lighting a cigar as if this was all perfectly normal. The grannies ate with savage abandon, their movements increasingly aggressive as they scoured the kitchen for more bread. Keep feeding them, Ryder said, his tone casual. What happens if we don't? Kai asked. Ryder gave them a look that sent a chill down their spines. I don't want to find out. So they continued, tossing more loaves of bread onto the floor. As the grannies became more frantic, their sounds shifted from snorting to growling, their eyes glowing faintly red. The atmosphere in the room grew more suffocating, but Ryder remained unaffected, his attention focused solely on his laptop. After about 30 minutes, the grannies finally stopped. They glanced around, their hunger sated for the moment. One of them turned to look at Ryder, her voice raspy and strange. Careful what you start, young one. Hungers only grow, she muttered before crawling out with the others. The apartment fell silent. Ryder took a long drag from his cigar and leaned back. Well, that's it. They're gone now. Kai, looking more unsettled than ever, hurried to lock the door. This is serious, Ryder. You need to get rid of that idol. It's dangerous. Ryder shrugged. Nah, they're good inspiration for my movies. Kai and Parker both shook their heads. No, seriously, get rid of it. Ryder didn't seem to care. I'm telling you, they're great for my creative process. The things they say, it's all material. As the night wore on, Kai and Parker sat in stunned silence. Two creeped out to leave. They eventually decided to sleep over at Ryder's place, unwilling to venture out into the dark until morning. The next day, as they were about to leave, they agreed on one thing. They needed to convince Ryder to return the idol to the forest where he had found it. Something was wrong, and it was only going to get worse. Days passed, and Kai called Ryder several times, urging him to get rid of the idol. Ryder always refused. It's just a nightly event, he'd say. It's inspiring. But after a week, things escalated. Kai called Parker, his voice frantic. Ryder's still feeding them, but each night they eat more bread. They're getting hungrier. The following weekend, Kai called Parker again. Ryder's finally getting rid of the idol. He saw what happened when he didn't feed them. Red eyes, growling, and one of them scratched him. He said he understood now. Maybe Ryder should just keep feeding the spider instead of demonic grannies in the middle of the night.